mode. Another thing, you tell me whether I sent you the note for the last chapter, that is the chapter on surface discharge, etc. That note has the, did I send you or no?
So last note is on sir streamers theory.
So that last chapter's note has not yet been sent. Okay, send it. I'll send it today after the class.
Okay, sir.
So today we shall discuss breakdown of solid dielectrics. And to start with, let us first see this slide. I think you can see this slide, sir. Or should I enlarge the diagrams slightly?
It's visible, sir.
Visible. Okay. So as it is mentioned over here that when we discuss about the breakdown in solid dielectric materials or breakdown of solid dielectric materials, practically it is not possible to explain the whole thing with the help of a single mechanism. Practically, solid breakdown of solid dielectric material is a complex phenomena, and with the help of a single mechanism, it cannot be explained fully. Actually, there is a curve uh, here. It shows the time duration for the breakdown after the application of the voltage. Now, depending upon the time taken by the dielectric before it breaks down after the application of the voltage, the mechanism taking the main role behind the failure of or breakdown of such a dielectric, such a solid dielectric, is categorized. Now, as it is shown in the diagram, there are different mechanisms: intrinsic breakdown, electromechanical breakdown, then streamers breakdown, and then electrothermal breakdown, and this electrochemical breakdown. Now, electrochemical breakdown we shall not discuss in detail. To begin with, I just mentioned that chemical degradation, that is a solid dielectric material exposed to different service condition or atmospheric conditions, gets degraded or its insulating property deteriorates in the long run. And in the long run, after a long time of use, it may so happen that its dielectric property deteriorates to a great extent and its dielectric strength becomes very small. So the time taken for electrochemical breakdown is almost negligibly small. The time taken for the electrochemical breakdown is quite long, and that is why it has been placed at the beginning, and it is also evident from the curve that the maximum time for failure of a solid insulating material is due to electrochemical process or electrochemical breakdown. Usually, the solid dielectric materials are used in such a way that is, even if they are to some extent exposed to different service conditions or atmospheric conditions, they do not deteriorate, or the dielectric property of the material does not deteriorate very quickly. And that is why the time taken by the solid dielectric material during failure due to electrochemical method is maximum, or large time is required. Similarly, so far as the electrothermal breakdown is concerned, in the case of electrothermal breakdown, we shall discuss it in detail. You will see that this method does not depend upon the thickness of the insulating material. Obviously, it appears in mind that if we increase the thickness of the material, the dielectric material will be able to absorb, or it will be able to withstand more thermal pressure. But it is not really like that. There is a relationship between the uh, actual temperature and actual thickness, etc. There is a relationship which, that relationship, when it is satisfied, then particular breakdown condition is achieved. That we shall discuss. But again, for failure of a solid dielectric material due to thermal electrothermal process, is again, it also takes quite long time. Not same time as that in the case required as it is required in the case of electrochemical breakdown, but again, for electrothermal breakdown, huge time is required. Next is your streamers theory. Streamers theory is of the nature of the way we discuss the surface flashover in the case of solid dielectric materials. Uh, Streamer's theory of failure of solid dielectric material is somewhat like that, and it is explained like that only. Next is electromechanical breakdown, and finally intrinsic breakdown. Intrinsic breakdown is the breakdown which takes least time for failure or breakdown of a solid dielectric material, and of the order of 10 to the power minus 8 second or so. But the condition is that for intrinsic breakdown, the failure can occur only when the applied electric field is of the order of 10 to the power 6 volts per centimeter or so. Now, electromechanical, since the time taken for the breakdown in the case of intrinsic breakdown is quite small, sometimes this breakdown is also thought of to be of electronic in nature. Electromechanical breakdown is also, uh, I mean, important in the case of failure of solid dielectric materials, but it takes more time than in the case of intrinsic breakdown. Now, let us discuss these things one after another. Now, intrinsic breakdown, as it is mentioned over here, is dependent on the characteristics of the dielectric medium. Yes, it is important. And as we were discussing, the time to break down is of the order of 10 to the power minus 8 second and occurs at a voltage trace of 10 to the power 6 volts per centimeter. The breakdown mechanism is independent of the dielectric thickness. This is important. The breakdown mechanism is important, I mean, independent of the dielectric thickness. And the next point, as the time to breakdown is very small, the breakdown is thought to be electronic in nature. This also we have discussed. Now the point here, when the field is very high, electron get enough energy from the field and moves from valence to conduction band. Now, however, now this is already known to us. However, electrons moving to conduction band lose energy when collide with the lattice structure. That we have discussed in connection with the discharge in gaseous dielectric and other cases. So this is already known to us. Electrons with higher energy moves from valence band to conduction band. There it collides with the lattice structure and releases the additional energy and come back to normal state. During the process of gaining of the energy from the field and losing of the energy to the lattice structure, the gain may be more than the energy loss. That is the important point. If the energy gained by the electron is more than the energy lost, in that case only the failure of the solid dielectric may take place. Now, the whole thing is explained in the next figure. Now, this is the figure. Here you can see there are three curves. Here, the x-axis or the horizontal axis is for the energy associated with the particles, and the y-axis or the vertical axis is the rate of energy gained by the electron from the lattice or lost to the lattice. Energy gained by the electron from the field or lost to the lattice. Y-axis stands for that. Now here there are four curves. One is curve A1, curve A2, and curve A1, A2, and curve A. Now these curves A, these curves actually show the energy gained by the electron from the field corresponding to different fields. Now for curve A1 is plotted for field F1. For curve A, the field is critical field, F is equal to Fc, and for curve A2, the field is F2. Now for curve B is the energy lost curve. Now again, you see, if we consider the curve A1, what happens then? In the case of curve A1, any point beyond P, any point beyond P on the curve, you see that for any point beyond P on the curve, the gain in energy is higher than the loss of energy to the lattice. Do you understand this point? For any point beyond P on the curve, the gain in energy will be higher than the loss of energy to the lattice for curve A1.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is I1, I, etc.? I is the ionization energy of the material. Now, can you, and also this point to be noted, F2 is greater than Fc, which is also greater than F1. Now, if I is the ionization energy of the material, can you have any particle or any electron within the material, the energy of which is higher than I? Is my question clear? If I is the ionization energy of the material, can you have any particle within the material which will possess energy higher than I, that is the ionization energy of the material? If we
No,
have
sir.
no, yes, because if we have any such particle, it will straight away take part in the ionization process and lose some of its energy. Therefore, this is explained here. When the field is F1, breakdown can only occur at a point above P of the curve F1, and corresponding energy of the electron is I1. Because in the case here you see at point P, the ionization energy, corresponding energy associated with the charge particle is I1. Here, this is I1 is the energy, and this is the energy lost to the lattice. Now, since I is the ionization energy of the material, no particle with energy I1 or even more for any point beyond P, the associated energy will be even greater than or higher than I1. So it is not possible to get any such particle which will have higher energy than I. That is what It is mentioned over here, but I is the ionization energy of the electron. Therefore, in the dielectric, it is impossible to get an electron of I1 energy because I1 is greater than I. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So what is our conclusion? Our conclusion is mentioned in the next point. Therefore, with the field F1, no breakdown is possible. However, when the field strength is increased to Fc, a critical condition is reached where energy lost is equal to energy gained, and this is the critical field Fc. Here you see for this curve A, where the field is equal to Fc, you see energy lost is equal to this one, and energy gain is I1. Energy lost is equal to energy gained here. So a critical condition is reached. So there may be ionization, there may not be ionization. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
But if we further increase the field beyond Fc to F2, what happens here? The intersection takes place here. The energy associated will be less than I. But what do you think? The gain in energy will be equal to or less than or more than the loss in energy here? If you draw a perpendicular from the point of intersection of A2 and curve A2 and curve B to the energy axis, you will reach here, somewhere here. And if you draw another perpendicular to meet the vertical axis, you will reach somewhere here. It can be found if you draw the feed diagram to the scale that the gain in energy will be more than the loss in energy. Mm. Here it is mentioned if the field strength is further increased to F2, the energy gain from the field is higher than the energy I. Then the material breaks down immediately. So you are having the condition, or you are reaching the condition when you are increasing the field to F2, you are getting an energy. Here the sentence is not clearly written. The field is higher than the ionization energy, higher than, no, it is not possible. Uh, Today my laptop is giving trouble. Please wait for some time.
Okay, sir.
Not responding. This will be the correct sentence formation. If the field strength is further increased to F2, the energy gain from the field is higher than the energy lost to the lattice, and the material breaks down immediately. If we go back to the diagram, you see here the as I have mentioned, if we could draw the diagram to the scale, it could be understood very easily that the energy this time the energy lost to the lattice will be less than the energy gained from the field. Now, if that happens, then immediately Victor Mondol, Victor, hello, Victor, hello, can you hear me, Victor? Victor, can you hear me? Victor, can you hear me? What happened? Do you? I think all of you can hear me.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir.
Then what happened with my microphone is not working? After the class, you positively ring me, Rohit and some other students. You are having my full cell number, na? You call me after the class. So here, it since the gain in energy is more than the loss in energy, the material breaks down immediately. In this case, this is the important point. The ionization energy I, the applied field F, and the characteristics of the lattice structure are the guiding factors, and other external factors such as thickness, surface structure, and condition do not have any effect. So here, though we are considering the breakdown of solid dielectric material, you see the thickness of the material is not at all influencing the breakdown process. Okay. Next is our electromechanical breakdown. Now, this type of breakdown is possible where the material can be compressed without fracture. This is the important point. Now, this method is explained in the second point under the application of the electric stress. Surface charges develop at the external surfaces of opposite polarity. Obviously, it can be explained in the way that when you apply the voltage, and if you consider the case of a parallel plate electrode once again, and let us assume that the gap between the two plates is filled up by a suitable solid dielectric material, and the two electrodes placed over the two solid dielectric materials, they are subjected to certain voltage application. Obviously, the two electrodes will be connected to opposite polarities. Therefore, the dielectric material, solid dielectric material, after the application of voltage, will be polarized, and due to polarization, uh, at the uppermost and lowermost layer of the dielectric material, opposite charges will develop. Do you understand? Do you remember this polarization process?
Yes, sir.
And then what happens? Due to this, development of opposite charges, opposite polarity charges, force of attraction between the charges at a high electric compressive force is developed. Due to existence of opposite polarity charges, the force of attraction results in, and due to which the entire dielectric is subjected to high compressive force. And if this compressive force exceeds the compressive strength of the material, the insulator may break down mechanically. Sorry. This is the way electromechanical breakdown can be explained. Now, let T0 is the initial thickness epsilon r is the relative permittivity of the material, y is the Young's modulus, and T is the final thickness after compression. So these are our assumptions. And this relationship, I think you all know, half epsilon 0 epsilon r V by T square. What is V by T? That is E. Half epsilon E square means what? Energy stored. Half CV square can be expressed in this form. Half epsilon E square is the energy stored in the electrostatic field, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And that is equal to y ln T0 by T. From there, we can write down the expression for V square like this. V square is equal to 2 Young's into y, Young's modulus, epsilon r epsilon 0 T square ln T0 by T. Okay. Next step is we are differentiating both the sides with respect to T, and finally we get this. Just have a look on this. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then finally, proceeding in this way, we get this. T is equal to 0.6 T0. That is, uh, final thickness after compression is equal to 0.6 T0. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Then what is this? There is a curve. We shall refer to this curve. You just have a look on this. This is the applied voltage, and this is the plot. I mean, x-axis is applied voltage, and the plot y-axis is T0 minus T. And this is the breakdown voltage. Actually, with the increase in applied voltage, the increase in T0 minus T, but that also increases. That is, more compression occurs, but at this voltage, when the applied voltage reaches the breakdown voltage, no further compression occurs. On the contrary, the curve starts taking a turn in the opposite direction. Let us explain this in this way. From the curve, it is seen that as the applied voltage is increased, T0 minus T, which is the reduction in thickness, increases still Vb, where T is equal to T0 into e to the power minus half. Any further increase in the applied voltage develops an unstable condition in the dielectric such that the reduction is found to be decreased contrary to the fundamental principle, and at this point electromechanical breakdown occurs. As it is seen from the diagram, yes, here when the breakdown voltage reaches, that is T becomes equal to T0 e to the power minus half, in other words, when T by T0 is 0.6, therefore the minimum value of T by T0 is 0.6. If by the application of the voltage ratio falls below 0.6, Then an unstable condition is reached and the dielectric breaks down. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let us discuss this also. This is the initial thickness. This is the slab of the dielectric material and T is the final thickness. These relations we have already derived. E0 is the gradient at breakdown, that is equal to V by T, because at the time of breakdown the thickness becomes equals to T, and let us consider the voltage remains constant at V. So E0 being the gradient at breakdown, that is equal to V by T. Therefore, uh, we substitute for V by T E0. This is equal to Y ln this, and T by T, T0 by T is equal to e to the power minus half. So this is equal to Y into half. So E square can be written like this: Y by epsilon 0 epsilon r, and E0 is equal to root over of Y by this. Is that okay? This relationship.
Yes, sir.
So from here, what we can suggest, therefore, actual stress developed at the time of breakdown is independent of thickness. If you look at this, E0 is the stress developed at the time of breakdown when the thickness is T, and the expression for which is this: root over of Young's modulus of the material epsilon 0 and epsilon r. Therefore, it is independent of the thickness of the material. It depends on some physical parameters of the material under consideration. That is what is mentioned over here. Therefore, actual stress developed at breakdown is independent of the thickness of the material and dependent on Young's modulus and epsilon r. That is, the breakdown stress is dependent only on the characteristics of the material. Yes, epsilon 0 is again a constant, but epsilon r varies from material to material. Therefore, and obviously the Young's modulus also varies from material to material. Therefore, it depends on the characteristics, that is two particular parameters of the material, Young's modulus and relative permittivity, and apparent stress, the stress at the time of breakdown, not breakdown initially, the thickness was T0 and the developed stress was V by T0. That is referred to as apparent stress. EA is equal to V by T0. That is equal to, again, if you substitute T0 in terms of T, it can be written as equal to T into e to the power half, or V by T is equal to E0. So E0 into e to the power minus half, that is 0.6 into Y by epsilon 0 epsilon r. Is that point okay? Because we know that relationship T by T0, yes, T0 by T is equal to e to the power plus half. Therefore, T0 is equal to T into e to the power half. That is what has been substituted over here. Here, T0 is equal to T into e to the power half. After simplification, we get this. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, apparent stress is 0.6 times the final stress at breakdown. At breakdown, the expression for stress is this: root over of Y by Y0, E0 into E to the power, E0 into ER, epsilon 0 into epsilon R, and apparent stress is 0.6 into root over of Y by epsilon 0 into epsilon R. Therefore, we get this expression, and we establish the relationship that during failure of a solid dielectric material due to electromechanical process, the electric field at the time of failure is root over of y by epsilon 0 into epsilon r, whereas the apparent electric field which is applied initially, that is zero point 0.6 times the electric field at the time of breakdown. This verifies another important point, that obviously when electromechanical breakdown will occur, the resulting electric field will definitely be more than the electric field which was initially developed. That is obvious because initial field is 0.6 times the field at the time of breakdown. So this is all about electromechanical breakdown, and here you see the streamers breakdown. You go through it, a simple thing we have already discussed, and we shall take a 5 minutes break. After that, we shall consider thermal breakdown.